Okay, so today in self-storage income, we are going to talk about a few things, but mainly about dynamic pricing, how prices are affected and what that means to you, how to set them, how to get higher prices, all those things, right? Everybody's trying to get higher prices, more revenue, and we hear this thing, dynamic pricing. The REITs are doing it, right? Everyone's saying we have dynamic pricing software. So we're going to explain this crazy world and how it looks to me in my head, which I hope doesn't just confuse you more. But I'm really excited about it because I'm very, very passionate. It's really important, and it's a fantastic way to maximize your revenue while also securing that revenue within your facility by having longer term tenants. This will massively raise your returns on your capital, but it'll also improve the experience for customers, getting the right people in the right place. Okay, so what is dynamic pricing? Okay, think of an airplane. You're on an airplane, right? You're flying from LA to New York. There's 200 people on the plane. None of those people have the same price that are sitting in those chairs. And two, the difference could be massive. Somebody may have paid $50 for a seat, and somebody could have paid $2,000 or more for that same exact seat. How does that work? Some people say that's not fair, and it's actually very fair. Now let me explain how this works in self-storage. This is important and probably confusing. So let's dive into it, and I hope we can make this work. Okay, so let's say right here we got your 10 by 10s, okay? I want you to look at these 10 by 10s. It's all the exact same box, all the exact same space, right? It's a cement floor, you got walls, 10 by 10, okay? How in the world could these 10 by 10s all have different prices? And two, how they could be massive, right? How $100 here, $150 here, $115, $145. Why does that happen? And how do you capitalize on it? What happens most of the time is this. You say, all my 10 by 10s are $100 and they all fill up. Or you say, all my 10 by 10s are $150 and you have vacancy and you can't fill them up. So then you try to lower your price and fill them up. Well, if you can get this middle ground where you're getting the right people at the right place in, you can merge this gap of $100 and $150 and increase your revenue just massively, because now you're getting all these tenants at the highest price that they're willing to pay. Now, there's a lot of things that go into how this works. Okay? This is an art and a science, and don't let anybody tell you differently. There's no software yet that I've ever seen that can magically change this, because two, a lot of the economics of pricing are so locally centered. So we use kind of a combination, okay? So we use software, we use different pricings, things like that, but we also use our intuition, our gut, our own market research, and here's what we're looking at. The first thing you need to know, and one of the most important things, is you have three different customers. You have customers that care about price, and customers that care about quality, and customers that care about location. Their price difference is about this. In your makeup of 10 by 10s, you're going to have some at $100, $125, and $150. Quality always pays the highest amount, right? Location is the second highest, and price the lowest. Now, you may not be able to fill up on quality, okay? But you don't want to offer all of it at the lowest, because then you're going to miss out on 50% of your revenue, right? So you're trying to get a mix. You're trying to get, really what we want you to focus on is location and quality, okay? You want to get those people in. Now, that's not the only thing. So we know that there's a differential, right, in the customers. You're trying to get the highest value customer, find them, bring them in at the lowest cost to attract that customer. Now, the year is also, right? If you're looking at a calendar here, prices, because it depends on the value that your tenants support, change. We know this. In self-storage, your spring, early summertime, these are low rate tenants. Why is a combination of two things. First of all, it's coming off the back of winter. There's more supply on the market in general. Also, it's because they're the short-term tenants. So you have the lowest revenue and the lowest time, which equals the lowest long-term value. Now, October is traditionally the highest. Why? Because they've filled up, everybody's given all their discounts, filled up, and all these people that are 150, they have nowhere to go now. because we just filled up all our facilities at $100, right? So the 150 people, there's less options, okay? They want to get into a facility and they want to stay for a long, long time. So they're willing to pay more, stay longer, which increases massively their lifetime value, the lifetime value of that tenant, okay? Now, January also up north, okay? So I'm from Idaho, we have facilities in 4 different states, but people don't like to move out in the snow. So they tend to stay through, right? People aren't moving in January, generally speaking. It's a low move time. So calendar affects these rates. So you have the customers, their demand, what they value is different at time of the year, right? Supply and demand changes the values. Now, this is where we get to market. You have overall supply and demand. How many units are either on the market, coming on the market, okay? Remember, low or high supply, low demand is the low price, okay? High demand because of low supply equals high price. Now, these are the main things we're looking at in the marketplace. Now, generally speaking, I don't include the actual facility quality because it falls right in line with them, right? The higher the quality, the better the facility has to look. So you have to be a really nice facility to get the quality. You have to be in the right location, a good facility for people here. Price, they don't care about the facility at all. So the facility, the asset itself depends on this. But two, the value of a facility also depends on things like automatic payments. It depends on customer service. Are you using call centers? All this kind of stuff. So your value of your facility also comes into play. But if you're talking about your facility right now that you own and how to increase the value and how dynamic pricing works, dynamic pricing takes all of these things into effect and it prices those units all through the year. Now, what generally happens is you have a street rate, let's say at 150. Now, that's the top of the top rate. All these people will be mixed in here differently. And as you get in, we have the next step of revenue management. This is how you increase this. Each one of these has their own rental increase. So they have a 2%, they have a 5%. So $110, right? 5% rental increase. Let's say this one's every 6 months, this one's 9 months, and $100, we're doing 6% every 6 months, okay? Because what you're trying to do is get them as quick as you can, everybody up to that street rate, without losing occupancy. They're all different. It's all moving. Now, let's say here you lose because it's a 6 months, you got them in a short term, so it was 110, right? You lose them, you're coming in here, you're doing your marketing to attract the $150 tenant, and because you have high occupancy, because you have some at different levels, right? You're gonna come in here, this empty unit, you don't have a ton of empty units. So now you can say, all these people that are focused on price, get lost. Grab that quality person at 150, plug them in, that raises your average. Now, all of a sudden, you have, let's say 20% at 150, okay? Now all of a sudden you're at 30% on 150, and your street rate will magically become $200. All right, this is dynamic pricing, this is revenue management, and this really is one of the crux of well-operated, well-run facilities. They're doing this, and the returns and the spread on these facilities are massive. We create value by buying facilities that aren't doing this, turning them around, and increasing the revenue. We have bought facilities and increased the revenue by the gross revenue by 30+% in a matter of months and retained higher occupancy, right? Your returns on your investment are so much higher when you do this. Now, this is one part. There's a whole fabric here, and we're going to get into, and you can check out our other video on what makes what high-paying tenants are looking for in a facility. So you can check that out, and that's where we really dive in on the individual asset.